There are 101 ways not to become an aircraft maintenance engineer. There are so many misconceptions about what it takes to actually become the people that go and fix these things. How do you fix an airplane? The ones that's actually hands-on fixing the airplanes. This video is going to clear up all of those misconceptions and teach you exactly what to do and what not to do when you want to become an aircraft maintenance engineer. What sort of salary we're talking?
As a licensed engineer,
Yeah.
you could be looking anywhere from...
First, I'm going to start with the things not to do. Number one, you do not need to go to university and get an aerospace engineering degree to become an aircraft maintenance engineer. And I tell you this because I went to uni, I got an aerospace engineering degree, and I'm telling you that is not how you do it. That is the biggest misconception. But then the question is, so then how do you become an aircraft maintenance engineer? Let me explain. The first thing you need to understand is aircraft maintenance as a topic sits within this bracket of something they call continued airworthiness. What does it take to allow an aeroplane to continue to be worthy of being in the sky? See, there are two organizations in Europe that are responsible for making sure the airplanes can continue to be in the sky. And those two organizations are the CAA and EASA. Comment down below what each of those organizations do. I'm pretty sure most of you will know what these organizations do, but if you don't know, this one is the Civil Aviation Authority, and this one is the European Aviation Safety Authority, and they are the ones who make the rules about what can and can't fly. Now, these two organizations have a massive document. I think it's 1,300 and something pages long, and in part 66 of this document, they start talking about who can actually fix these airplanes. Who is it that can maintain the airplane? Who can open it up and start tinkering with it and start doing stuff to actually fix an airplane? And that is where they start to break it down. You see, there are different levels of engineers of who can and can't do stuff. And that is what they call A, B, and C licenses. You have A licenses, you have B licenses, and you have C licenses. Each of these different licenses can actually unlock a different kind of maintenance. The only part of this that you really want to care about, because I know you just want to work for an airline or you work in a massive airport and you're opening up the planes, you're literally looking at stuff, you're fixing it, you want to be on the ground, you want to be hands-on. If that's you, then the one you want to care about is this, that B license. See, the B license breaks down into four things that you will most likely want to care about, and let me explain to you. First one here is called the B1.1. The second one is the B1.2. The third one is the B1.3, and I promise I'm not making this up. The last one is the B2. See, the B2 is actually different to these ones. Let's start with the B1.1. What is a B1.1 license? The B1.1 license is the license that you need to be able to sign off work on a massive aeroplane like the ones you might see at an airport. So an A380, the big stuff, the ones with the actual engines that you see that you're used to on aircraft. All the engineers who work at airports who sign off those pieces of work on those planes have a 1.1 license. Now, to get that 1.1 license, you have to go through a very specific path to be able to achieve it, and I'm going to tell you about that path in a second. But before I get to that, what about a B1.2? See, the 1.2 is for these piston engines. These are the smaller aircraft, the stuff that you might find in a training center, the stuff that has a piston engine, smaller stuff. To be able to work on one of these, you need a 1.2 license. And again, there's a whole set of modules that you would study to be able to work specifically on a piston-engined aircraft like this. And the third one is, well, let me show you that. Come with me. Let me show you what B1.3 is. Come, it's here in the corner. Welcome to the helicopter corner. This is what the 1.3 license gets you. A 1.3 license means you can work and start maintaining helicopters of all sizes, requires a 1.3 license. The last one that I haven't spoken about is a B2 license. Let's go figure out what the B2 license is. B2 is all about avionics. So take a look. This has been set up to teach students all about the inner workings, the electrics and the electronics that are necessary for the aircraft of today. And if you specialize in a B2 license, that is when you are basically specializing in all the electronics that are embedded in airplanes that makes them work. So to summarize, A B1.1 is for the massive gas turbine engines. A B1.2 is for the piston engines, the smaller Cessnas and other stuff like that. 1.3 is for the helicopters, and a B2 is for the avionics inside. But the question is, how do you get these licenses? So look, I wanted to give you information directly from the source. So this is literally continuing airworthiness document from the CAA. If you scroll down and you go to page 589, on this document it says, if you want a B1.1 or a 1.2 or a 1.3 or a 2, it breaks it down into different categories, but I'm going to start off with the 1.1. If you want to work in an airport on big aeroplanes, here are the 3 ways in which you can do it. There's 1, 2, and 3 ways in which you can actually do it. The first one is 5 years of practical maintenance experience on operating aircraft if the applicant has no previous relevant technical training. So if you have never worked on an airplane before, you go to an airport, you start working on an airplane, you need a minimum of 5 years hands-on experience, filling out a logbook, writing everything that you've done for 5 years, and you need to self-study and pass modules and exams on the side to be able to get a B1.1 license. That's the first option. The second option of how you can do it is 3 years of practical maintenance experience on operating aircraft and completion of a training considered relevant by the CAA as a skilled worker in technical trade. What does that actually mean? Well, that means, let's say you got an apprenticeship, which was hands-on, you were doing great things, like you were clearly skilled, you clearly understood technical stuff, but it wasn't exactly aircraft maintenance. Maybe it was something just next to aircraft maintenance or like aircraft maintenance. Then the CAA could potentially consider that as relevant experience and only ask you for 3 years of experience working hands-on with aircraft. But now the third one is the biggest fast track there is on this document. Rather than 5 or 3, they only want 2 years of practical maintenance experience on operating aircraft and the completion of a basic training course approved in accordance with Annex 4, Part 147. What does that mean? Okay, look around. There's like 3 helicopters, 3 massive engines. You got 2 small planes, 1 big plane. It literally doesn't end. And the best part about this, right, is that we're talking about practical, we're talking about theoretical. Anything that you need to learn about aircraft maintenance, you can come and learn in this place because they have everything. They have helicopters, they have gas turbine engines, they have piston engines, they have anything that you need all in one place, which is why you can actually get the basic training course done here. Most places just don't have the facilities that this place do to be able to pull that over the line, and that's why they're approved by CAA and EASA. But you're probably wondering, what even is that basic training certificate? What does it look like? What do I do there? How much does it cost? All these things are questions in your mind. The next part of the video is going to answer everything for us. This is Callum.
Oh yeah.
So Callum is one of the students here and he's actually on the basic training course.
Yes.
What's the first thing they need to know about the training course?
Well, first of all, there's quite a lot of theory. Okay. So there's 10 modules that we do at the start before we venture on into doing our further specific modules related to the type of license we're going towards. So within the 10 modules, first 10 modules, we do maths and physics, we do some basic aerodynamics, we do quite a bit of electricity. So we've got electrical fundamentals, which kind of touch on circuitry and a bit of things like that. We do some digital techniques where we learn about the cockpit systems, so the stuff that's in the instruments that the pilots see, those kind of things.
Okay.
So there's also aircraft systems, the entire aircraft, what it's made up of.
Nice.
We also do some essay questions.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got stuff like human factors, about our sleep, about our psychological effects on being an engineer, that kind of things.
Nice.
We also learn about aircraft legislation or aviation legislation, so kind of the rules and laws behind a few things.
So that's like all the theory that you need, and is it like an exam per module? Or
yes, yeah. So I think that's probably one of the beneficial things, that it's a modular training, so that we do a module, then we do an exam. Module, exam. So your knowledge is fairly fresh. So the exams are also multiple choice. So you'll get A, B, C, and you get to put
Not all of them are multiple choice.
So there's a few modules that aren't. So we've got human.
I was about to say that.
No. So
that would have been nice.
Yeah, I wish. So there is 2 or 3 essay questions. So there's ones where we've got to write an essay for the exam. It depends on the legislation you're going with. So CAA will do the essays, but I believe EASA has also taken it out.
Okay.
So it's multiple choice for some.
So the first part really is the theory. You have to understand the theory, But the thing is, like in a place like this, although you're doing theory, surely it's not like uni theory. You know how like in uni you're just sat in a lecture and you're just like getting theory. In a place like this, what does theory look like?
Well, funnily enough, so we do the theory, but then we actually get to come out into the hangar and we get to see in first hand what we're actually learning about.
Nice.
So we're not just learning behind a computer screen, we're actually getting to see the physical aspect of what we're learning about and trying to understand.
Okay.
So we get a more defined definition of what we're trying to understand and learn.
Nice. Were you showing them the stuff you taught them in the classroom?
Yeah.
So they learn in the classroom in there, and they then literally go and see it in there. So that's even within the theory, there's actual practical and touch and feel
definitely.
and see what it is that you're talking about. Alright,
Absolutely.
cool. So once you get the theory done, then what?
Do some practical.
All
Then
right.
you come into here.
Let's talk about the practical. Now, to talk about the practical, we have Ewan.
The practical, you have a number of different assessments. Now these are called formally assessed practicals,
Nice.
also known as FAPs.
Okay.
So there's two factors that come into play when you want to pass your FAP test. One of them is safety. Safety is the number one thing in this industry. This is the second safest industry to be in, second to nuclear power.
Wow.
So safety is massive, and for good reason. These things are flying in the air.
Yeah.
You need to be safe.
100%.
Now second, you need to be able to carry it out to a good standard
Nice.
and carry the job out properly. So that's obviously important. Following the manuals, making sure it's done right and safely
Nice.
again.
So these are like tasks, right? So you get told by the instructor, I want you to do a hydraulics test and like lift up the plane, check this, bring the plane back, or change this, and like an actual full-on task that you get told, do that, and then the assessor will watch you do it and make sure that you're doing it safely and make sure that you're doing it properly.
Absolutely, yeah, that's
Sick.
all.
Safety number one, do the job properly number two. And only if you do those two things correctly, that is when you actually pass that practical assessment and you're able to go on to the next stage. But 40% of everything you'll be doing here is out here actually learning hands-on, getting assessed practically to make sure that you've understood the theory and that you can get the job done properly. And when I mean properly, I mean safely. The thing that they're doing right now is actually they're doing a hydraulics test. So you can hear the teams communicating. You've got students up there in the cockpit, you've got the team leader, the person who's in charge of the whole thing, you've got somebody on the actual hydraulics, and then you've got others who are around making sure that everything is running smoothly. All right, let's go upstairs and see what's happening up there. You guys are sat in the cockpit. What do you guys have to do in here?
Functional checks. This is the landing gear. This is the flaps, ailerons, moving forward and can move it like this. Functional checks need to be done before the flight.
Just to like check all the flight controls and that.
What are you replicating here? Is this like before the plane goes out, this is the stuff that you do?
Yeah.
Just to make sure all the rigging and that's correct and everything's all right.
Undercarriage up.
One red.
One red, two greens. This is epic. It's like, honestly, like you could be going to uni and just studying like a degree in a classroom, or you could be doing something like this where you're actually learning hands-on what you need to do, and it's like, this is so much better. I went to uni, I studied aerospace engineering, trust me, I know. But here, look, you're actually practically seeing the landing gears go up, go down. You're learning hands-on from people with years and years and years of experience in this industry. Now we've done the theory, we've done the practical, and the last thing is the AMIT. Gents, AMIT. What's the AMIT? Tell me about that.
So AMIT is what you do on the completion of this course. So it's the last 2 months, and it's 8 weeks on the job training with either an airline or a maintenance organisation.
Nice.
Now during these 2 months, you'll be on the job working with real licensed engineers and mechanics, being able to be hands-on yourself in a real maintenance organisation.
Nice.
And there you'll be able to test out your skills on live aircraft,
Wow.
as well as be able to shadow more experienced engineers
Wow.
and be able to ask questions for feedback and things like that.
So everything that you've learned in this place, the last 2 months of the actual qualification, you literally get the chance to put it into practice in real life,
Exactly.
in an actual airline or a maintenance place.
Exactly.
Amazing. And so once that 2 months is over, then what?
So once that 2 months is over, you showed your skills off on the job. Then you can get a job as an aircraft mechanic for either an airline, like the one you just did AMIT at, or a maintenance organisation, which is considered a Part 145 organisation.
Nice.
And there, once you're working as an aircraft mechanic, you'll be able to fill out your logbook, get your maintenance experience, and from there you need a minimum 2 years of experience.
Nice. That's the 2 years. That's the fast track.
That is the 2 years that you get
Okay.
to take advantage of. And then from there you can apply for your blank B licence, and then from there you can do type training courses to specialise in what aircraft you want
Wow.
to learn.
So just like that, you do less than 2 years in this place. Once you graduate from here, 2 years anywhere where you're filling out your logbook, getting your license, all of those, or well, getting the logbook filled up, I guess. Once you fill up the logbook, that's it, you're in. So within 4 years, you've gone from 0 to hero with a full aircraft maintenance engineering license, B1.1, EASA, CAA, whichever one you want. What sort of salary we're talking when you get to the end of that? What's the expectations?
As a licensed engineer?
Yeah.
So depending on what kind of organisation you're working for, you could be looking anywhere from 50 to 80k plus.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard pretty much similar numbers. Most of the thing is, right, we're talking 50 to 80k, but the reality is there are so many aircraft maintenance engineers that are going to be retiring over the next 10 to 15 years that there's going to be a massive demand on aircraft maintenance engineers. One of the things that you watching this might not realize is that the average age of an aircraft maintenance engineer in the UK is between the age of 50 and 60. And when do people retire? 60. Yeah? So that means there's going to be a massive shortage of aircraft maintenance engineers in the years to come, which means a place like this, a fast track to becoming an aircraft maintenance engineer, is going to be the place to be if you want to get in there quick. And you're never going to be out of a job because there's so much demand globally for aircraft maintenance engineers. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Peace.